Assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, I'm Rifyal Kalam Mahardhika. You're watching World News Now, and here's what's happening. Soekarno-Hatta Airport police arrested two foreign citizens from the United Kingdom for dodging the mandatory COVID-19 quarantine. The two Britons escaped on their way to a hotel or the quarantine site upon arrival at the airport. ODE 39 years old and MM 32 years old arrived at the airport on May 7th. Boarding an Etihad flight, they had undergone health, immigration, and other mandatory checks by the COVID-19 task force. But on their way using the hotel shuttle, they asked the driver to pull over as they said they needed to use the restroom. They then fled, leaving their belongings in the car. The airport police then arrested them in Bogor, West Java on Thursday, May 19th. Police said that they have traveled to various places in Indonesia. They entered Indonesia using visit visas to Bali, and police have collected evidence including an email that says quarantine requirement is a corrupted system and is against natural law. The ceasefire in the latest Gaza war faced an early test when clashes broke out between Palestinian protesters and Israeli police following Friday prayers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, a flashpoint holy site in Jerusalem that is sacred to Jews and Muslims. It was unclear what sparked the violence, but the video released by the Israeli police showed what they said was a petrol bomb thrown at officers after Friday prayers ended. Police fired stun grenades and tear gas, and Palestinians hurled rocks after hundreds had taken part in a celebratory demonstration in which they waved Palestinian and Hamas flags and cheered the militant group. Clashes between protesters and police at the site earlier this month were one of the main triggers for the war. In Tokyo, Japan, hundreds of people protested outside the Israeli embassy in Tokyo on Friday as Israel and Hamas agreed to a ceasefire. The demonstrators gathered in a park and were escorted towards the embassy in small groups. One of the protest organizers, Naim Arayan, said he hoped that there would be no more conflict in the region. Another protester hoped that the killing of innocent people stops forever and demanded Israel to obey the United Nations resolution. Others said that they are doing this not for the religion but for the sake of humanity. This is one among hundreds of solidarity demonstrations throughout the world demanding Palestine liberation. Thousands of students in Australia skipped school on Friday to protest in capital cities, demanding the government to take stronger action on climate change. The nationwide school strike for climate protest was the first since the start of the pandemic in Australia. Protest organizers called on Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison and his government to fund more renewable energy initiatives and to introduce a plan for net zero emissions. Last week, the government announced $600 million in funding to build a gas-fired power station in New South Wales state. They claim it is needed to keep electricity prices down. Australia is one of the world's largest producers of coal and natural gas that has also suffered under extreme climate change. We're seeing droughts, floods, and fires in the recent years. Investigators were digging the home of 72-year-old suspect from New Mexico after he confessed to having murdered around 30 women. They later found bones and other evidence under the floor. An excavator continued to dig up on Wednesday in search of remains of women who were allegedly murdered by Andres, and also known as El Chino, inside his home in the Mexican municipality of Atizapan de Zaragoza. Evidence like shoes, ID cards, women's handbags, and clothing found at the site just northwest of the capital suggests that El Chino may have been a serial killer and that he may have been slaughtering victims for years. On Tuesday, prosecutors said that they have arrested a 72-year-old man there, while they were searching for missing 32-year-old women. Once inside the dwelling, police found sort of shallow basement and in it a bloody table with the woman's body. Mexico has seen a wave of women's killings in recent years, and activists say police do not do enough to prevent, investigate, and prosecute such crimes. Now we have sport news with Zainur Rahman. To Zainur Rahman, time is yours.
Alright, thanks to Rifyal Kalam Mahardhika. In this time, let's jump to the sport news. Zainur Rahman is bringing you to the latest news for today. There is news about the departure of Sergio Ramos from Real Madrid. Rio Ferdinand praises Real Madrid's way of announcing Sergio Ramos' departure. Quoted from Bola.net, former Manchester United defender Rio Ferdinand praised about Real Madrid's way to announce the departure of their captain Sergio Ramos in this summer. On Thursday, June 17, 2021, early morning wb, Real Madrid announced that they were releasing Ramos after the defender's contract expired at the end of June. Several top European clubs are also said to be Ramos' next destination. Let's say Manchester City, Manchester United, and also Paris Saint-Germain. Besides this, Real Madrid released Ramos by allowing the 35-year-old defender to say goodbye with the trophy that he won with Los Blancos. Through his personal Twitter page, Ferdinand also admitted that he was impressed about the way of Real Madrid had released Ramos. Real Madrid's way to introduce their players and release legendary players when they leave informs their status as a dream club. They have set an example for other clubs with the gesture they chose, said Ferdinand. Then, Real Madrid provide an opportunity for Sergio Ramos to say goodbye to the fans directly through a virtual press conference. On this occasion, Sergio Ramos says thanks for Los Blancos' crew and also fans. Actually, Sergio Ramos demands a new contract with a duration of 2 years to stay at the Santiago Bernabeu. However, President of Real Madrid, Florentino Perez, didn't want to comply with Sergio Ramos' wishes because of his policy only providing new contracts with a duration of 1 year for players aged over 30 years. Negotiations between Perez and Ramos have been going on for the past year. However, neither side was willing to budge in the negotiation, and in the end, Sergio Ramos decided to leave. Sergio Ramos made sure not to take Real Madrid's departure personally. He said that his relationship with Florentino Perez was fine. And on the other hand, Sergio Ramos joined Real Madrid in 2005 after signing from Sevilla for a fee of 27 million euros. The value is quite expensive for a player who at the time was still 19 years old. For 16 years, Sergio Ramos has never left Real Madrid once. He has been an important player since his debut match. Totally, Sergio Ramos has played for about 671 games in all of competition for Los Merengues. Sergio Ramos was also involved in many of Real Madrid's successes in various competitions. He has presented 22 titles for Los Blancos, including 4 trophies of Champions League, Alright, that's all about sport news for today. Check this out at bola.net for the latest update. I'm Zainur Rahman. I give it back to Rifyal Kalam Mahardhika.
Thank you, Zain. Alright everyone, that's all for world news for today. I'm Rifyal Kalam Mahardhika. Thank you for watching. Wassalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.